Welcome back to the Next Generation Critic. Today's episode we are going to trash is Lonely Among Us. A living entity is captured from a space cloud while in the middle of a diplomatic mission of aliens that love to chase each other around the ship. The Cele have nothing but love for the Antikins. This is the only time you see Tasha in a dress uniform. The first point is lost for putting them so close together on the ship. They knew there was going to be a problem and they put them right next to each other, and this ship is massive, so that's just a joke. -1 point here. Riker is 1 inch from the door, but seems to know when he wants to go through it and opens magically. -1 point for a single set of doors on the fake turbolift, and not even a cut in the carpet either. -1 point for not understanding Earth history. They are totally mansplaining to the audience that they're just a bunch of fairy princesses in the future with no problems at all. That's not true. -1 point for being able to see a cloud traveling at warp speed while they are traveling at a different warp speed in a different direction. That will never be possible. Has anyone ever counted how many times Data says intriguing in the first season? It's kind of annoying. Data says the first I. Worf always gets the best lines.
Our captain wants his junior officers to learn.
-1 point for this sensor pass because two objects traveling at two different warp speeds makes this impossible. And Worf gets zapped. Worf lands on his stomach, so Geordi flips him over, which you aren't supposed to do, so -1 point. And he's got a cut in his makeup, so -1 more point. -1 more point for moving an unconscious body during the credits. No wonder Worf is pissed. Look at Geordi go. Worf got zapped by the console, so Picard asked Geordi, "Do you think it was your visor?" So -1 point. Riker is not a vegetarian. Next year he cooks Owan eggs, so why is he saying this? So -1 point. It is possible we will meet sentient species that eat live animals. Commander Riker explains that the food on the Enterprise is reconstituted out of everyone's poop. And I think that's gross too.
Barbaric.
Now Dr. Crusher gets zapped. Will Wheaton says hi to his mom on TV. So if your mother is acting strange, and she's the doctor, who do you call? Why are the turbolift doors closing so slowly? -1 point. The doctor is acting a little strange on the bridge too, but nobody noticed. Shouldn't the term be computer library and not library computer? Data says intriguing again. And how did nobody else see or hear that? So -1 point. Dr. Crusher now asks philosophical questions. Dr. Crusher is acting strange and the science station she was just at died, but they don't make the connection, so -1 point. -1 point for not thinking all these failures could be due to a computer virus. Picard says what the hell, not Riker this time. -1 point here because you can see the top edge of the set. Mr. Singh points out something is wrong since the systems don't talk to each other. This is much like the virus in Barclay's episode. Chief Argyle is mentioned but not seen. That's what she said. Well, not to me. The transporter would have picked these up and alerted them when they came aboard, so -1 point. Ironically, this is how a gun owner describes his gun as well. Has anyone else noticed that the lighting for this episode is rather dark? And warp speed just died. And now communications is out. Data mansplains that he doesn't know what happened. They never consider it was a virus, or it all started after they went through the cloud. Here's where Data decides to learn about Sherlock Holmes. Wesley saves engineering and Mr. Singh says, "Get lost, I'll take credit for it." But little does he know, Wesley put a curse on the computer for anyone that tries to steal his work. Here is a beautiful screenshot of Gates McFadden. Wait, isn't Wesley supposed to be in school? Wesley brags how he's smarter than everyone else on the bridge. And Wesley's the only one that realized Dr. Crusher was acting a little peculiar earlier. Chief Engineer Singh becomes the victim of the Wesley curse. That's what happens when you steal his work. -1 point for nobody else in engineering. Lucky that Worf came over to ride the elevator. His eyes were open, now they're closed, so -1 point. -1 point for rolling over an injured body. Mr. Singh goes down in Next Generation history as the first on-screen crew death, and he is in a yellow shirt. Point 1 has passed in the stardate, which is only about 45 minutes, so -1 point. And again, Wesley makes a discovery and they blow him off. Poor Tasha Yar. As chief of security, all she does is babysit annoying diplomats. These types of parts could be the reason Denise Crosby said Star Trek wasn't for her and moved on. Worf again always gets the best lines.
I still don't remember having one.
Now poor Tasha has to deal with Data acting like Sherlock Holmes. Data points to the monitor as if it shows a map, but it doesn't, so -1 point. Poor Tasha, she's got to worry about the delegates and now the pipe smoke. She's just not having a good day. -1 point, since so far no one, including Data, has realized the problem started when they went through the cloud. Deanna uses the Force on Dr. Crusher. Is she saying this about the alien or telepathic Troy? Picard wants to know why Troy didn't report this duality, but how did none of them notice Dr. Crusher was acting kind of strange? Picard says, let's proceed without the pipe. Tasha says, who are you talking to? And Picard said, Data, he's right over there. At -1 point, a Beta Z would be able to tell the difference between a duality in a human and a duality when they're being invaded by somebody. -1 point for Data over Sherlocking. He would already have known about Sherlock Holmes, and an android officer would not act this way on the clock. It's just comic relief for the audience. -1 point for Geordi blowing off Wesley. He should really know how the results got there. -1 point for not telling Captain Picard what happened instead of saying come to the bridge. That wastes valuable time. Geordi saw that this time. Neither Geordi or Deanna say something about Picard's change, but both of them have extra senses to notice, so -1 point. Picard says, don't call me sir, I haven't been knighted yet. They don't notice anything's wrong until he says turn the ship around. Cole Meany is practicing his future job of dealing with Ferengi and shapeshifters. This is not product placement at all, not one bit. And is that Data's nose? So all of them are in on this. It should be rather easy to get the captain out of his chair for just a few minutes. The next point is lost for a first officer's log talking down to the audience like we all forgot what just happened before the commercials. Picard thinks Riker is the left fielder.
The left fielder's name. Why?
Dr. Crusher and Riker talk to Picard with Troy's recommendation for the examination, and Picard says, screw you, and they walk off. So -1 point. Picard should have been relieved right there. Riker's about to decide, since we turned around, let's just drop off these diplomats at their home planet and be done with them too. Dr. Crusher brings in the results, but it's really just a sedative to knock out Captain Picard, but he's on to her and just sits it down. And this comment is enough to have him relieved, and she didn't, so -1 more point. Another first officer's log talking down to the audience, so -1 more point. Besides, he's mansplaining to the audience why they can't relieve the captain, when really they can, and they didn't. Geordi says, I, number 2, watch and listen closely.
Very well, Mr. LaForge.
Wait, did Deanna just readjust, fart, and then look like she hopes no one would notice? The sound could have been something else, but -1 point. They should have reshot the scene so no smartass blogger would make a video about how Deanna farted on Star Trek. Picard gives this long-winded speech how the entity was sucked out of the cloud and asked for help to go back. But it's coherent enough in Picard's mind to tell them what's going on. It would have told Picard what happened instead of merging like this, so -1 point. Everybody says this is a terrible idea. Deanna finally uses her telepathic skills. It's about time. And Dr. Crusher should have relieved him hours ago. It's too late now. Now it's time for some terribly cheesy special effects. The next point is lost for the transporter already being set to beam him into space. All he did was touch the screen and it turned on and went. And 1 point for beaming him into space. You'd think 400 years in the future they can program a computer to know not to do that. And -1 point because in reality it would have killed him. This first officer's log should really read, I'm going to get the ass whooping of a lifetime when I explain this one to Starfleet. -1 point here. It would be impossible for Picard to come back like he did. That's what she said. Geordi says, I, number 3. And that's what she said again. Now she senses a ghost. Worf sees the glitch first, and Data makes this connection, but I doubt if it was intentional. The entity must be helping Picard go through the computer right now because Picard couldn't do this on his own. -1 point. There is no way his energy could travel through the ship like that, then magically rematerialize on the transporter. -1 point for Troy saying, this is a different Picard, because that means they got a little problem. Picard is a little woozy, and Riker finally gets him to go see Dr. Crusher. The next point is lost here since this ending is quite similar to the ending in the book Magic Kingdom for Sale, where somebody was going to be cooked. And when did they get cooks? I thought all their food was made by magic replicators, so -1 point. And -1 point for nobody really caring about the Sally delegates except for Tasha Yar. Who were the delegates? Mark Alamo played Badar. He was in The Incredible Hulk, The Last Starfighter, and you'll see a lot of him on Deep Space Nine. John Durbin played Sestar and will be back in Season 6. Kavi Raz played Singh. He has 90 screen credits, including MASH, the A-Team, and a regular on St. Elsewhere. He is also a great soccer player. Lonely Among Us, where it actually is possible to beam out into space and survive, gets a score of 58%. Thanks for viewing. Be sure to leave comments below, click that like button, the share button, and that subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.